Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, konbanwa. That's good evening in Japanese, but in case you wonder and worry, that's almost all my vocabulary. My name is Hossam Al-Sukkari, and I will be your host for this fantastic evening tonight. I would like to start with a few lines from the Sufi poet Jalaluddin al-Rumi, who wrote, "How should spring bring forth a garden on hearthstone? Become earth, that you may grow flowers of many colors. For you have been heartbreaking rock, once, for the sake of experiment, be earth." Today is a huge milestone in our journey to understand and work with our Mother Earth, to help millions of people around the globe live safely and in harmony with nature. Let me start by welcoming you all to the 2015 Sasakawa Award ceremony at the 3rd United Nations World Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction, sponsored by the Nippon Foundation. We are gathered here tonight to celebrate this very special occasion and to announce the winner of this year's award. By tomorrow, we hope to have a new framework for disaster risk reduction. Every single individual in this room has had an involvement in its making. For that, I would like to offer you all my sincerest congratulations. But first, let me explain how we will spend the next couple of hours together. Our ceremony will continue till about 7:30 tonight. After that, we will go for a cocktail party till about 8:30. That's 8:30 p.m., not till tomorrow morning. During the ceremony itself, 2 certificates of distinction will be announced, followed by a prize for the Sasakawa Award winner. These will be jointly presented by Nippon Foundation Chairman Mr. Yohei Sasakawa and the representative of the Secretary General for Disaster Risk Reduction, Ms. Margareta Wallström. During the ceremony, we will enjoy an inspiring symbolic performance from the magical Shizuoka Yabouchi dance crew. Our ceremony will end with a tying ribbon ceremony to the ribbon tree, in keeping with the 2015 as the year in which we will have a new framework for disaster risk reduction. The theme for this year's award is Shaping the Future. There was an enormous interest in the Sasakawa Award 2015 with 88 nominations from 44 countries. Tonight is special because we have in this hall a number of men and women who were nominated or whose organizations have been nominated for the award by their peers. Should they all please stand up? We also have with us nominees and laureates from previous years. Would they also please stand up? Ladies and gentlemen, these are the women and men of the Sasakawa Award. Thank you for your work and for being with us tonight. Thanks also to the Nippon's Foundation support, starting back in 1987. Because of this support, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction was able to initiate and continue this tradition of recognizing excellence in disaster risk reduction. Tonight, we are privileged to have with us Mr. Yohei Sasakawa, the chairman of the Nippon Foundation, who joined the foundation as a trustee in 1981, served as president from 1989, and became chairman in 2005. In the field of public health, Mr. Yohei Sasakawa has been dedicated for over 30 years to a global campaign to eliminate leprosy, working in close cooperation with the World Health Organization, WHO. Mr. Sasakawa has described the elimination of leprosy as his life's work and spends 1/3 of every year traveling around the world as WHO's Goodwill Ambassador for Leprosy Elimination, a position he has held since 2001. For the Third World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction, Mr. Sasakawa has promoted inclusiveness and initiated a new joint program of the Nippon Foundation and UNISDR for ensuring accessibility of every person, including persons with disabilities, to the conference by providing sign language interpretation, real-time captioning, and accessible coordination. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome to the stage the chairman of the Nippon Foundation, Mr. Yohei Sasakawa.
Thank you, Mr. Sokari, for your very kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'd like to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude to Madam Margareta Wallström. Let me also thank the panel of independent judges for the time and effort spent in selecting the winner, who will be announced later this evening. I also wish to offer my sincere appreciation to all staff members who have cooperated in preparing for this ceremony. Disasters take place around the world with unsettling frequency, disrupting the lives of individuals with oftentimes irreversible consequences. As an organization specializing in humanitarian aid, the Nippon Foundation has been engaging in disaster relief and recovery, not only within Japan, but overseas for many years. Having first-hand experience of the grave impact that disaster has on human life, in the disaster relief and recovery phase, we, the Nippon Foundation, established the Sasakawa Award Program with the United Nations 30 years ago. The aim was to establish a global platform where we can pool and share the knowledge and experience that can be utilized to reduce the impact of natural disasters for all people. Over the decades, disaster risk reduction has moved from a narrowly perceived technical discipline to a more broad-based global movement with a focus on sustainable development. It is exciting to know that the Sasakawa Award is evolving with this trend, and in recent years, initiatives which have been awarded the Sasakawa Award are becoming more and more innovative and multi-sectoral. The 2015 theme is Shaping the Future. Under the theme, this year we received the highest number of nominations from the most diverse group of individuals and organizations. I am looking forward to meeting the winners of the 2015 Sasakawa Award shortly after, and hearing from them how they hope to contribute in realizing a safer future for their communities and a greater society. In closing, I'd like to convey my appreciation to the UN ISDR for their dedication to realize what the Sasakawa Award Program has been aiming for since its inception. And I'd like to express my deep respect again to all the organizations and individuals who have and continue to work for disaster risk reduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sasakawa. I'm also honored today to have with us the maestro and the choreographer of the United Nations global work to reduce disaster risks, the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Disaster Risk Reduction, Ms. Margareta Wallström.
Thank you all. Here we go again, another Sasakawa awardee about to be nominated. Thank you, Mr. Sasakawa, for your long-term support to us being able to, among the many people who contribute to building up an understanding and the action of disaster risk reduction, to again nominate and award someone who has made a significant and outstanding contribution. And thank you, Hossam, for the second time that you are doing this with us. I think you now know our community. This is indeed a very special night, of course because of the award, but also because we are now in the World Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction, 10 years since last time. And I'm sure you have noticed that over these past 4 days, a very large number of dedicated and single-minded individuals have been working tirelessly to come to an agreement on the framework that we have all contributed to shape over the past 3 years. The deadline for completing this document is, of course, coming very close now. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. we should close the conference. And, of course, we would like to have the framework ready as soon as possible. But I suspect that you will find us working still at 4 a.m. in the morning to be ready for all of you coming. But we are very close. We are very, very close. All the substance that you have worked on shaping is there. And it's now the international cooperation so important for how we implement the framework that will need to be agreed. In my many years personally now working not only with disasters in any way, but also now 4 years with disaster risk reduction, I've always been very impressed by how communities engage, how we have the ability to come together and the willingness to come together for a common goal and purpose and a common good. And this has always been a feature of the disaster community, the disaster risk reduction community. And when I say a community, I genuinely think that we are a community, well dispersed around the world, communities, intermediate level, and increasingly, as you can see here, at the highest political level of government. As a community, we've created and we use relatively consistently our own terminology. We have created national platforms, and we are using them. We have created regional platforms, and of course we have a global platform, all of which serve, I believe, today to hold this community together, which helps us to, in an effective way, exchange experience, learn, and test our ideas and move forward. And we also have increasingly a one UN that is guided by a common goal on disaster risk reduction and a commitment to make development, health, agriculture, infrastructure, all of them more risk sensitive, and to, as we collaborate with countries and communities, make sure that that also is part of what United Nations represent and implement. So tomorrow, as the conference seriously draws to a close, we will have a framework that is the fruit of 10 years of practice, but also the fruit of 3 years of consistent effort to understand where the gaps are, what do we need to focus on in the coming decades, how do we really begin to make that huge shift from the disaster to understanding and addressing the risks. And I can see that in many ways, because of all this work over the decade and all the work over the past few years, the train has already left the station. I think you already know where you are going. I think you already set on the path there, and you know what needs to be done. So this framework will be what supports your direction, and it will also assist us in continuous outreach and bring in all those who are not with us yet. So in this community, there is always a lot going on, and what we've seen in the World Conference here is, of course, in many ways the tip of the iceberg, but it's a pretty big tip that we have seen over these past 5 days. And I'd like to thank all of you who have come here, offering and giving substance, learning, networking. I can see that there's been a very intense conference. But as a particular reflection of this disaster risk reduction community who is represented here, has nominated 88 individuals and organizations for this year's Sasakawa Award. And I thank you for engaging in that and putting forward, which is more a record number of applications. We also have a jury, as you know. The jury operates as a jury very independently, and they have, of course, worked through all these 88 applications with a comb and make sure that they are very clear in their mind for what they want to achieve. The members of the jury are long-serving Murat Balamir from Turkey, Rovina Hay from South Africa, Franklin MacDonald from Jamaica, and the youngest one, Tam Huang from Australia. I would like to thank you all for your dedication and the hard work as volunteers to be able to nominate the Sasakawa Award this year. Just to demonstrate how tough the choice was, they came up with a long list of 33 organizations and individuals as potentials for the award. I will give you their names. Mr. Joaquin Rua Burgos, he's the Minister of National Emergencies in Paraguay. Programa Hospital Seguro de México in Mexico. Rabaul Volcanological Observatory in Papua New Guinea. The Heritage Foundation of Pakistan. Disability Inclusive Disaster Risk Reduction Network, headquartered in Indonesia. The Australian Business Roundtable for Disaster Resilience and Safer Communities, Dr. Ali Ardalan, Iran, Dr. Mark Keim, United States, International Institute of Seismology and Earthquake Engineering, Japan, Initiatives for Dialogue and Empowerment through Alternative Legal Services, Incorporated, Philippines, International Consortium on Landslides, Japan, Climate Change and Displacement Initiative, Switzerland, Care Society, the Maldives, HIFER International, Philippines, the Institute for Social and Environmental Transition, International, United States, Inclusiva, Chile, Mr. Gopalan Nair Shankar, India, Mr. Alan Lavelle, Costa Rica, Bogo City and First Lieutenant Ben Frederick Rodriguez from Philippines, Homeless People's Federation, Philippines, and from the Philippines, Disaster Risk and Exposure Assessment for Mitigation Program, Philippines, Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, Thailand, Jeffrey Town Farmers Association, Jamaica, Dread Metropolitana, Colombia, Tuti Community from Sudan, Miss Marie Alta Jean-Baptiste, Haiti, Crisis Management Center and Rapid Response Services 9/11 from Armenia, Myanmar Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group, Mashhad Municipality, Iran, Design for Disasters, Thailand, Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board, India, Slope Watch, Malaysia, and finally, More Fun in Quezon, Philippines. Congratulations to all of you to have made it to this long list of 33 individuals and organizations. And now, of course, I look forward to celebrating in just a few minutes the candidate that has been chosen as an example for shaping the future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallström. I know you must be dying to know who the winner is. The jury wouldn't like it, but I will give you a clue. It's not me. Before we know the winners tonight, I would like to invite you to watch the fantastic and magical, the Shizuka Yabauchi Dance Crew. Four years have passed, but the devastation from the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami will not be soon forgotten. How should we prepare ourselves for unpredictable events? One thing we can all do is to help each other in our everyday life to build a sense of community and cohesion. Inspired by the conference logo and symbolic colors, the performance is reinforcing the importance of our work on shaping the future for disaster risk reduction. Ladies and gentlemen, the Shizuoka Yabouchi Dance Crew. As you can see, the group has introduced many of the elements that you know into the dance. They have embedded the 5 colors of the conference logo and the ribbons that you have been tying all the way through to the ribbon tree. All are symbols for oneness, coordination, joint work, and harmony. There couldn't be a better introduction to the work that will lead tonight to the awarding of that one single award after a hard and dedicated work that has been carried out by a jury, 88 nominations, 44 countries, judges from all over the world, and one single winner. To explain all of that and how the jury reached its conclusion, please welcome Professor Dr. Murad Balamiya, the representative of the jury. Dr. Balamiya, the floor is yours to explain everything that happened before we come to that selection.
Thank you, Mr. Sokar. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to convey the observations and the decisions of the Sasakawa jury. But to start with a few comments for the occasion, I must underline that the jury declares its admiration for the achievements of all applicants, emphasizes the determination of the ISTR in their efforts to make the world a safer place, expresses gratitude to the Sasakawa Foundation for their continuing promotion of risk reduction. The jury respectfully acknowledges the fortitude of the Japanese people and the dedication of professionals and authorities in their ongoing contributions to disaster risk management in local and international context. The jury was delighted to receive a large number of applicants in the Sasakawa 2015 award program and to witness the enthusiasm for taking part in shaping the future. Although reviewing such a diverse range of candidates took weeks of analysis and debate for the jury, it was gratifying to arrive at a mutual and confident understanding about the nature of contributions made. The candidates have been evaluated in terms of their capacities exercised in shaping the future. This fundamentally meant the assessment of the candidates in meeting 6 criteria: influence, extent, permanency, innovation, efficiency, collaboration. Now, implications of these criteria are quite disparate, yet they served as complementary guidelines in the evaluations of the jury. The pool of applicants revealed a good spread in geographical terms. In terms of identities, the nominees are individuals, voluntary community associations, formal institutions, or official bodies. Regarding scope, one could alternately identify pre-disaster and post-disaster focus and comprehensive or partial approaches. Significant efforts were observed in the health infrastructure systems and in the training of professionals. Each nominee had some message for the future, though some were more explicit in addressing challenges with adaptable methods or models that can be replicated elsewhere. By the end of the first meeting of the jury in November, about 1/3 of the candidates seemed to exhibit superior capacities above others in one or the other way in shaping the future, and thereby were eligible to take place in a list for further deliberations. Prioritization in this reduced list of candidates was an arduous task with so many accomplishments and promises for future achievement. The wide spectrum of participation with genuine accomplishments compelled the jury to identify as many categories of appreciation as possible. Apart from participants with significant merit, the jury could specify 2 entries that deserved certificates of distinction. The considerations of the jury unanimously indicated an outstanding laureate. In terms of taking future challenges in disaster risk prevention and reduction in general, and more specifically for policy declarations here in Sendai, Displacement Solutions Research Group is one candidate that deserves mention. Climate change and rise of sea level are to displace millions from their most fertile lands. Are we prepared to take the challenge? An early warning is made by the Displacement Solutions Group. They point to the critical nexus of long-term environmental change, competition for resources, and human rights. Setbacks in development are not only due to immediate impact and direct losses experienced, but also due to the subtle and often unrecorded disruption of livelihoods, erosion of human rights, and downgraded gender equality. A singular nominee that also deserves special mention is Dr. McKim, because of his visionary and wholehearted engagement regarding environmental issues and community health. The jury observes here a rare combination of qualities in one person: leadership, technical, administrative, and political skills. His work within and between governments, academia, business, and communities is an example of how an individual can drive a conversation within and between institutions, utilizing the power of these institutions for common good and positive social change. The jury recommends certificates of merit for Displacement Solutions and Dr. McKim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great honor to invite Mr. Yoshei Sasakawa and Ms. Margaret Wallström to stage for the delivery of certificates of award winners. Now, first nominee considered eligible for certificate distinction is Jeffrey Town Farmers Association, Jamaica.
Congratulations. Thank you.
This is a rural community that has developed a symbiosis with the natural environment and restructured itself internally by collective determination. This association is a sustainable model for small agricultural communities subject to various hazards. Enabled by external agents or experts, rather than dependently relying on them, and with the wisdom of homegrown leadership and imperts, I would like to call them, that is, local endemic experts, a self-containing community is maintained regardless of limitations and resources and finances. Community cooperation is fully realized in optimizing natural and human resources with fine division of responsibilities. A well-communicating and trained community could comfortably transfer the local culture of survival to younger generations building up resilience to hazard impacts, and the will and skill needed for a sustainable future.
I would just like to say thank you. I can't tell you what it means for a community like Jeffreytown to be here today. Thank you so much. Thank you to the people who helped make it possible. There's a lot of people who've helped us be here at home, the donors, the friends, the trainers, the facilitators, the supporters. And of course, thank you to our nominator and to the people I work with, the volunteers at home in Jeffreytown. Thank you all. Thank you to the Nippon Foundation and to you, sir, to you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
The second nominee considered eligible for a certificate of distinction was the Australian Business Roundtable for Disaster Resilience and Safer Communities.
Welcome. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You thank your hand first. And Mr. Sasakawa.
So we would just like to very deeply thank Mr. Sasakawa, Margareta Wallstrom for this fantastic honour. We're thrilled to be here tonight. The Australian Business Roundtable is a coalition of 6 CEOs who've worked tremendously hard to make a difference to public policy in Australia and to work with the Australian government and provides help and assistance to create safer communities. So we thank you for this. We're thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Well, thank you so very much to the very distinguished people who've given us this great honour. I want to just say a couple of things very briefly. And the first one is to say that this coalition that we've formed in Australia brings together very different groups of people. But I do hope it provides a signal to the enormous potential for coalitions of this kind around the world. I think we all know that so often our governments are just not getting the message about the critical importance of allocating resources and priority to disaster risk reduction. This is the enormous challenge of our time. And I say to you that we need to all bring to the table not only our intellectual powers, our rigour, our economic arguments, but we shouldn't be afraid to bring our passion and our love of people. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I'll just read what the jury sees in this group. This is an unprecedented leadership of private sector action group, voluntarily pooling their resources with firmness of purpose and creative dedication. Members are jointly committing resources for sustainable support, disaster risk prevention and reduction policy, most effectively throughout the economy, and to work with governments in the fields of community education, risk information, adaptation research, mitigation infrastructure, and strategic alliances. They base their move on research and rational estimations of investments and returns. This has great leverage on government action and is a stimulus for industry, commerce, and the whole economy in encouraging safety performances. The Roundtable employs independent researchers and promotes a national research agenda. They promote the appointment of a national resilience advisor, commit to annual pre-disaster resilience funds, and become a source of support for all components of the society. This brings in an almost revolutionary scenario beyond what any singular person or body can potentially achieve. We observe here an umbrella formation to trigger very many individual enterprises actively to take part in disaster risk prevention and reduction operations in safeguarding communities. The Roundtable collaboration is an initiative that should stimulate similar undertakings globally. This may perhaps prove one example of what was envisaged by the late Ulrich Beck as the evolution of new organizational structures in risk society to transform the modern society if we are to survive. The Roundtable provides an outstanding example of the potential power of effectively organized private sector in shaping the future. Now we have to announce the laureate, Alain Laval.
Congratulations. Yes, congratulations. Thank you.
Needless to say, I am emotionally moved. I'm not sure whether that is an English phrase. I'm thankful, I'm humbled to have been chosen first amongst such a wonderful group of people, of organizations, of projects. I thank the Nippon Foundation in the name of Yohei Sasakawa, their president, the judges, the estimable judges, and I would say wise judges. Margareta as the head of the ISDR, who has pushed this topic so well over the last years. I would thank particularly Professor Ian Davis, who nominated me for this position, a master, a professor, a teacher of many of us over the years, and those that supported him in that nomination, Cardona, Yepes, Velasquez, Hans-Jürgen, Tony Gibbs, all ex-laureates who had the goodness to support me in this campaign, if we could call it that way. And all of the people that supported me through that process by which we got to this point. Sin embargo, y aquí voy a cambiar al idioma de mi raza. Así es América Latina. Seré breve, seré imposible. Este viaje lo hicimos juntos. América Latina, Asia, África. Comenzó con la red de estudios sociales en prevención de desastres en América Latina, con 14 personas. Se extendió a Periperi, a Duriag-Nevarán, en África y Asia. Fue apoyado y avalado por gobiernos a lo largo de América Latina, tanto nacionales como locales. Fue avalado por múltiples ONGs que trabajan con nosotros y agencias como la GIZ, COSUDE y muchos otros que avalaron esos preceptos y propuestas que nosotros elaboramos. Fue avalado por gobiernos de muchos países y por agencias intragubernamentales como CEPREDENAC, CAPRADE y SEDEMA en las Américas. Agradezco a todos ellos quienes hicieron el viaje conmigo. Sin ellos hubiera sido imposible. Y les invito, en las palabras un poco del amigo Rich Olson, de quitar los guantes y empujar en los próximos 15 años para el logro de una reducción de riesgo más eficaz, más eficiente, más prospectivo para el futuro, para la seguridad de la humanidad. Muchísimas gracias, soy muy agradecido. Thank you. Good night.
If you will excuse me, after all these words, jury's words may not mean much, but for us, this personal performance is a perfect example of how grand achievements are possible with individual dedication, despite humble resources. The enduring and most influential individual efforts of Mr. Lavelle in undertaking various roles in a multi-actor environment make him a leader in the disaster risk management community. 3 decades of teaching, research, consultancies, and contributions, and their imprint in shaping disaster risk prevention and reduction policy and conduct in the Latin American region. Lavelle's integrative approach at official levels and among civil organizations has encouraged them to collaborate and coordinate their disaster risk prevention and reduction activities. This is a cross-cutting effort between official bodies, academia, research institutions, and local communities that contributed to the formation of new institutions, creation of civil entities, provision of new progressive policies, inclusive strategies, all finding their way in laws and regulations. Ability to see the big picture has been instrumental in inspiring and mediating decisions and in developing holistic and sustainable disaster risk prevention and reduction measures. Personally accessible to all, Mr. Lavelle has been capable of tailoring official conduct according to the needs of the local communities, enabling them and always highlighting the human needs. His efforts have been a glue to hold together disparate communities. This is a timeless model, a model for all times. Thank you.
Okay.
Once more, congratulations.
Now, I would like to invite the winners and the recipients of the distinction certificates to stay on stage, because now we are going to our own small ritual of tying ribbons of hope to the ribbon tree. The idea of the tree has been inspired by a Sendai tradition. During the Tanabata festival, messages of hope are written on strips of paper and tied to tree branches. Throughout the conference, people have been tying ribbons containing messages of hope to this tree. You are cordially invited to a reception in the Sakura Hall across this one. There as well, you will have the opportunity to make your own wish and tie your own ribbon. This you will do as a symbol of our joint commitment to create a safe, healthy, and resilient future. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with our hopes and best wishes for a safe and prosperous future for all people, we end our celebration tonight. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for making it happen. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you.